Hi everyone, welcome back to Simply Maha, and today we are making these beautiful stuffed grape leaves, better known as dolma. I make them in a very unique way. They're going to turn out to be super sweet, tender, tasty, and my secret is the way I cook them. Get your kids, get your husband, get your neighbors, get your friends to help you roll these out and check out how tender they end up being. So excited to show you this. If you want to see more recipes like this, don't forget to subscribe. Let's get started. So starting out with our filling, I have about 355 grams of ground beef. I have an 80-20 mixture. You want those nice and tender. And we also have 2 cups of rice. Now, you want short grain rice. It's important that you soak it and let it soak in the water for about at least 30 minutes. I have sushi rice, but you can use short grain or jasmine rice. Just 2 cups of that. And for my seasoning, I have about 1 tablespoon each of turmeric, garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, ground cardamom, paprika, 7-spice, and cumin. Okay, we're just going to put that to the side. I have 3 tablespoons of dried mint. And for my little veggie fixins, I have a whole bunch of parsley, half a big onion or 1 medium-sized onion, 3 scallions, half a head of garlic, and about 4 tomatoes. I also have a 1/4 cup of some red pepper paste and a 1/4 cup of pomegranate molasses. Now, if you don't have access to that, you can just use 2 tablespoons of hoisin sauce and about half a cup of olive oil that you see right there, and that's it. Let's get to chopping. We're first going to start with our onion, and I like to cut it in half, leaving that little bulb intact just so it's way easier to cut. As you can see, I am making cuts straight down, and then what I'm going to do is turn it and make about 2 to 3 cuts lengthwise and then just start chopping. And you can see leaving that bulb intact at the end really helps in the onion staying intact and it not moving anywhere. So that's why I like to keep it. And now for my green onions, I'm just going to chop off the little ends. And guys, here's the tip for you. When you're cutting different kinds of veggies, always have like 2 or 3 knives next to you. You never know which one you might need, which one is more easier to use. As you can see, my big chef knife was not as sharp as I would like it to be, and that's why I got a little serrated one to help me make clean and easy cuts. So if you don't have the proper tools, you can just get 1 or 2 knives that will help you get the job done. But I am in need of some good, proper, sharp knives. So if you have any brand that you recommend, please let me know down in the comments. For my tomatoes, it's the same thing. I first get rid of the very outer part right here, and then I start making thin slices with my serrated knife, and I will go ahead and chop it up into little pieces with my chef knife. And you want to have very, very fine pieces over here, and if any of the juice comes out, that's perfectly okay, because all that just adds more flavor to the filling and keeps it nice and tender. So here I have my slices, and then I'm just going to take my chef knife like you see me do here and just go along the tomato and make small dices. For your parsley, you just want to gather it all up, put it in a bunch, and then just start chopping. You want to get a rough chop in the middle, and then with your knife, just keep going side to side, front and back, running your knife through the parsley until you get very, very thin and fine parsley pieces. Now, I am using the rough parsley. I am not using Italian parsley. And that's why I was extra careful in making them very fine, because if they get stuck in your throat, they can be very irritating. So you want it very, very fine. And you can see how I am just running my knife throughout the whole length of the parsley until I get nice and fine, just like you see over here. And it will need some patience. Sometimes what I like to do is when I buy my parsley in the beginning of the week, because I know I always use parsley for my meals, for my garnishes, I always chop it up very finely like this and put it in a container in the fridge, and by the end of the week I will have used it and it wouldn't have gone bad because I use it in a very short amount of time. So that's just a tip for you if you don't want to spend every day chopping up parsley. Just put it in the bowl, and now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add our seasonings and our other little fixins. And now I'm just gonna add salt. I'm gonna put a lot of salt because we have a lot of veggies, meat, and rice, but ultimately it's up to taste. I put about 1.5 tablespoons, and now I'm putting my pomegranate molasses. Like I said, you can use hoisin sauce, 2 tablespoons of that, or you can even use date molasses. And now we are going to put our red pepper paste and our olive oil, about 1/2 cup of that. Now, if you don't have red pepper paste, you can use 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. But since tomato paste is a lot stronger and more acidic than red pepper paste, instead of using 1/4 of a cup, you would only use 2 tablespoons. And now, just to make my life a lot easier, I'm gonna grate in my garlic instead of chopping it, but be careful and do not grate in part of your thumb like I did, okay? Use it with caution. And here's a very important tip that I want you to do. Before adding the rice, I want you to incorporate all the veggies and the seasonings with the meat very well, because once we add the rice to this mixture, we are not going to be able to mix it as vigorously as we are here, and that's because we don't want to break up the rice. Okay, since the rice is already small, I have short grain rice. If we do end up mixing it vigorously, we're going to break up the rice and it's going to taste like you're eating dirt and not rice. So this is a very important step that I want you to take before adding in your rice. All right, now I'm adding all my rice in. It also helps if the meat is at room temperature. You don't want it very cold or frozen, or else it won't mix properly. So now that we have the rice in, the key is to start. See, you don't want to mash it up like that. You want to start from the bottom and just toss up. The key here is really tossing. You see me going in from under and just bringing everything on top, sort of like how you would whip egg whites or fold in egg whites in a mixture. You're gonna fold from the bottom up. Okay, if you have any clumps of meat, break it up, but this is really how you want to mix. And since we already incorporated everything into the meat, all it is now is just mixing in the rice with it. You're not going to worry about all the seasonings not being mixed properly because we have already done that ahead of time. And see, just in a matter of seconds, the rice is incorporated into our mixture. You don't want to go anywhere beyond that because we're just gonna start breaking up our rice, and like I said, gonna end up tasting like dirt. All right, now I am taking out my grape leaves. I have fresh grape leaves that I have picked out a couple of months ago that I had frozen. I have about 600 grams of grape leaves. Look at how beautiful and fresh these are, that vibrant green color. And of course, if you don't have grape leaves, you can just use these jarred ones. The only difference is that the ones in a jar always come in a brine, so you want to make sure to really get rid of that brine. Maybe boil it for an extra minute or two, but I just prefer the freshly picked ones over the jarred ones. Alright, so I have separated my grape leaves like you see here into like 4 or 5 groups, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to place them in boiling water for about 2 minutes, just until they become more pliable and that green color changes to a more deep green color like you see here. And if you are using the jarred grape leaves, make sure to boil them for an extra minute or two, just so that brine can really come apart. You don't want to be too vigorous with this. Move it a couple times with your tongs, but that's it. Make sure not to rip them, and please handle with care. Putting that back on my sheet and putting in my other groups until I am all done. I just want you to see how beautiful these leaves are. No tears, nothing. I love picking my own grape leaves. Now, what you can do if you want fresh ones is just go to your local winery places and just ask if you can pick the leaves, because really they just need the grapes. That's what we do, and they kindly allow us to go and pick out the leaves. All right, now we start the rolling process. You want to take one of your leaves, place it flat on your board, and you want to make sure that the side with the veins is your side up, okay? You want the smooth side down. And then you want to grab a little bit of your filling. That is really up to you. Spread it in the middle like that. And then you want to fold the bottom to the top. Take the sides, fold them in the middle, and then you roll. That's it. That's really how simple it is. Now, as you can see, mine is a bit slender and long, and that is the more traditional way to roll grape leaves. However, I like mine to be shorter and chunkier. That's just how I prefer them. So that's why I'm gonna take my filling and place it more compact in the middle. Now here's a note. Do not overfill your grape leaves if you have not soaked them for a long time, because that really affects the cooking time. I have soaked mine overnight just because I forgot about my rice, so I know that they are not going to expand as much. So just keep that in mind. So you can see that I have put more filling and placed it more in the center. And now, just like what we did before, I took the bottom ones, covered the filling with the bottom side, and then you take your side, as you can see here, just rolling it, and you can see the difference in size. You can always go back and re-roll to your desired liking, but you can see the difference in size. But that is just how I like mine. And comment down below if your team long and slender or short and chunky. So now we're just gonna prepare the cooking liquid that we're gonna put our grape leaves in. I have another 1/4 cup of pomegranate molasses. This is optional. I just like the color it gives and the sweet and tart flavor that it gives as well. And then we are going to put 1 heaping tablespoon of chicken bouillon. You can add salt. I just had chicken bouillon, so I am using that. And then I'm gonna add about 1/2 cup of lemon juice. Now, I don't want a lot of liquid here, okay? After all of this, I am just gonna add barely 1/4 of a cup of water, and that is because I am cooking mine in an instant pot, and if you add a lot of water, they're just gonna be drowning in it. However, if you are doing this in a normal pot, you wanna fill it up with water until it just barely covers the grape leaves, because you have to cook your rice. Now adding about 1/2 cup of olive oil and just mixing that thoroughly. So I have my instant pot here. I am going to be pressure cooking these. Now really, that is my secret to the most tender grape leaves ever, okay? I have tried doing them on the stovetop and they just take the longest time. For them to get as tender as I like them, I would have to cook them for about 3 hours, but in the pressure cooker, it only takes about 45 minutes. I am just laying my grape leaves at the bottom, like you see here. And usually you would lay down the grape leaves that are not really good looking, just so nothing goes to waste. But I picked out the best grape leaves, and not even the ones that I put at the bottom or rack. Okay, they were all perfect. If you live in the Bay Area, Napa, like Napa Hills, that is the place where you go pick grape leaves, and all the grape farms will kindly allow you to pick them out. And now I am laying down some potatoes at the bottom. They get nice and tender as they cook. And the reason why I said we're not adding a lot of water is because the rice and the leaves are going to be cooked by the pressure. They're not going to need a lot of water at all. Because listen, one time I filled this with about 2 cups of water and it was a disaster, okay? So ask me how I know. I only need about 1/4 cup, and don't forget we also have a lot of liquid from the pomegranate molasses, the olive oil, and the lemon juice, so you really don't need a lot. Now that we have our potatoes in place, it is time to stack our grape leaves. Okay guys, we are almost there. I know. This isn't hard, it's just time consuming. There is a difference. The key here is laying the grape leaves seam side down and tightly packing them next to each other, just so none of them unroll or come apart. I just go in a circular manner, and once I get to the center, I build on top of that. And the reason why these grape leaves look so much different than the ones I rolled in the beginning was I had an errand to run, and I told my grandma to roll the rest, so they were long and slender. So I had half that are my preference and half that are hers, so everybody won. Right, so now we were getting to mine. You see how compact they are, and you want to roll them tightly enough so that they don't unroll during the cooking process, but you don't want them too tight that the filling doesn't get a chance to cook. We still want fluffy rice, okay? Let them come undone just like that. Do not worry. Simply roll them back and put them seam side down. Do not stress. It'll all work out at the end. We are gonna weigh this down with a couple of plates so nothing will unroll. Don't you worry, okay? I'm gonna put the top with more grape leaves. About 2 or 3 should be enough. Now I am placing one plate over the grape leaves and a second one on top of that, just so I get nice and secure folding. After I put the first one, I am just gonna put all the mixture that we have made. That's gonna give the leaves such tender flavor. It really all comes from the olive oil. Some people like to put a little bit of lamb fat or lamb shanks. I like the pure taste of olive oil. And then you're gonna get a nice tangy bite from the pomegranate molasses. It's gonna be amazing. So I have my Instant Pot right here. I'm just gonna close it. I am gonna set it to my pressure setting for 45 minutes. Now, these really don't need more than 30 minutes, okay? I just like to take them for 45 because I like them falling apart. But if you like a more sturdy grape leaf, set them for 30 minutes. After 45 minutes, I released the pressure valve, opened it up, and it just smelled so amazing. If you haven't smelled grape leaves before, it's the equivalent of banana bread, okay? This is the savory version of banana bread when it is baking in your oven. It just smells like home. It smells savory. It smells like dreams, okay? I am just obsessed with this dish. I can eat it every day. And as you could see, they are just falling apart. That's how I like them. I know some people may like it a bit more sturdy, and that is not water that rose to the top. That is just more of the liquid that we put in. I like to save that and cook rice with it because it'll just give my rice the perfect flavor, but you can just drain that and throw it away if you want. Here is another piece. It held its shape. It didn't fall apart. It was just perfect. It has a nice gloss to it because of that olive oil. It is really the perfect dish. You see that? That wasn't a lot at all. I'm gonna drain that and save it to cook some rice in. After flipping it, you can serve it just like that, but I like to serve it in a separate dish like you see me do here. Look at all that perfect cooking liquid that you can just dip those leaves in. It is amazing. Like I said, you can serve it like you see here, or like I'm doing. I'm gonna stack them up in a separate plate and I'm gonna serve them with some radishes, some lemon, some yogurt, and that's really it. And these potatoes have gotten so tender. They've soaked up most of the cooking liquid. They were amazing. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more easy recipes like you see here, and comment down below what else you want to see on Simply Maha, where we are simple but never basic.